Live from an undisclosed location in Scotland, it's Plot to Go with your hosts, Jack
and Owen.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Plot to Go, episode number, I can't keep track, 6. Today, you didn't get from that intro, we're talking about Saturday Night, the film about Saturday Night Live. And also, we will touch upon a few other little bits and bobs, like the new movie Companion that came out, and the Spider-Man show, Your Friendly Neighbourhood Spider-Man, that dropped on Disney+.
It's a great name, it's a bit of a mouthful.
It is. Yeah, I don't think anybody is ever going to go, hey, you're watching Your Friendly Neighbourhood Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's Spider-Man PS4. Spider-Man Disney+.
You watching Spider-Man PS4?
Spider-Man on my PS4.
Yeah, he doesn't move. I don't know what's happening. But before that, Owen, I saw The Brutalist.
Yes.
If you haven't listened to last week's episode, Owen saw The Brutalist.
I was ranting and raving about it.
Raving away. I sadly had to miss it because I was feeling poorly.
Very, actually. Yeah. I think what they saw was all of the energy that you kind of reserved for the entire week expelled in like an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, I fully just powered off after the episode. Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie yet off of Owen's recommendation, I couldn't recommend it enough. Like, I think it'll only be in the cinema for a short period of time more, but definitely go out and see this. It's so worth seeing it on a big screen. If you can see it in IMAX, see it in IMAX. Yeah,
I was kind of begging one of our friends to go see it in IMAX. I'm like, you need to go. I was like, go listen to me talk about it. And I think he was more intrigued after that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But truly though, it is one of the most gorgeous films I've seen in this kind of like awards cycle, I guess.
Yeah. It's the grain.
It's the grain.
It's the VistaVision.
There's like one bit where it gets really grainy. Yes. Yeah, I won't harp on about it too much because you said your piece and kind of covered it. But it's like harkening back to films of old. It feels like epic. Like the word epic's being used to describe it, and it truly feels like that. And for the budget, I actually just don't know how it was made.
I think that's the thing that's blowing us away. Yeah. I'm blowing everyone away, to be honest. I don't think anyone quite understands it.
Yeah.
But then everyone has the same reaction with Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think. Their VFX team's like 10 people.
Yeah, it's tiny. Yeah.
And not the whole film, but like at least the back half of the film was so much going on all the time with the editing is like.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into it.
No, I was going to get into like actual criticisms and like things of the movie, but...
go for it.
The editing was the one thing that bothered me in the movie. There was a few edits that I just didn't like. I was like, linger on stuff more, or it just bugged me. But then in the same vein, I also loved how it was shot and the like shots chosen in the edit. Like, I think it's my favorite type of filmmaking is just like place a camera or like have a really fluid camera and let actors act. Like, don't chop scenes up
agreed.
A ton. And when you have performances as good as the ones in the movie, it's very easy. Even like tiny roles were like, oh, you're like not a stand-up, but like you're really good. Yeah, couldn't recommend it enough if you haven't. And now I've got one Best Picture nominee left.
Oh, I still got like 4 or something, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
this week,
Saturday night.
Oh, we are. Oh no, this is not Saturday night.
We're
recording this on a Saturday. It is not night time. Nighttime looks real nice in Scotland.
It's always bright and sunny in Scotland. It's never dark and dreary.
Never. If you haven't heard of Saturday Night, it follows the first taping of SNL, which was at the time known as Saturday Night. It follows the 90 minutes leading up to the show. So the film's about 90 minutes, just over. And it goes minute by minute, kind of in the lead up to their first episode.
It is a little bit longer than 90 minutes, but I think it tries to... You don't feel it because it just does the thing of like, this is a scene, and then you see the time tick over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine the edit's quite tight because there's a little bit at the start, and then I would imagine there's about 10 minutes of credits.
Very
So
true.
I actually think it...
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you minute by minute, you get this clock that comes up kind of every now and again, and it is counting down to the show. Very stressful movie. The place is in absolute chaos. Lorne Michaels, who is still the showrunner of SNL right now, which is crazy. Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah. He's ran it the entire time.
Yeah. I've got something to say about that, but keep going.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
You follow him and a wide plethora of people who you will know. Which we'll get into because I want to ask you about it. We're both young that we wouldn't have known the start of this show at all.
Yes.
And also we're British, and this is not a British kind of institution. And I think it's becoming more and more worldwide.
Yeah, but we're pretty far removed from it. And
Yeah.
also, like, there's so much on TV. Like, I don't watch SNL.
Sure.
So.
But you will know the names here because SNL is a, like, birthing ground for huge stars.
And still is.
Will Ferrell, Kristen Wiig, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, like, massive names. And even in this, you're following people like Billy Crystal shows up, Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase. I'm trying to think of the other... John Belushi, who sadly passed away quite young. Along with, what's her name? Was it Lorraine Newman? Another person passed away quite young. You also have, like, Jim Henson. Like, there's just people that you know names of because they became far bigger than they were at the time. This is following, like, a ragtag team of 20-year-olds who were somehow given a primetime slot on TV, which you find out.
Is that primetime in America?
No, well, I guess. They
Like
do
now?
call it primetime. Primetime now is 10. 9:10.
Right.
But I guess on a Saturday night, it is primetime?
I was
11?
shocked. Yeah, I was shocked that it was 11. Like, I know it's like Saturday night, but I was shocked it was 11:30
Yeah.
that it was on, and I'm assuming it's still on 11:30.
Bowen Yang, who's one of the SNL cast members now, I listened to his podcast. To hear how his week goes, it's mad. Like, because they are writing sketches every week. So they're in the office writing away. Then there's like dress rehearsals the day before. They shoot late on a Saturday. Then there's after parties because they like schmooze the host and the musical guests and stuff. So like your only day off's the Sunday, and actually you're getting home about like 5-6 in the morning. Crazy.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. So this is just the story leading up to that first episode, and you have like so many people that are trying to stop the production from happening,
Or, yeah, kind of let it fall apart.
Yes. A team of not even Hollywood,
Team of
just
old
like
men.
TV bigwigs, led by Willem Dafoe, brilliantly.
Yeah, we love Willem Dafoe. Is he already in the stand book or no?
I think he's not in the stand book.
Well, he should be in the
He
stand
should be in the stand book. Also, I was thinking, as a retroactive nip in the bud, should we add Linda from The Traitors?
She's, you know what? I was gonna say she's not an actress, but she is.
She is.
There was a performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put Linda.
Lovely.
in the stand book.
Linda from The Traitors and Willem Dafoe.
On the same level, I think. Like, quite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of the same generation of artists.
Not incorrect, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe's quite old now.
Which is crazy. Actually, Willem Dafoe is in the stand book. I did think that. Okay, so we're just adding Linda.
We're just adding Linda.
Great. Oh, and what did you think of Saturday Night? And actually, as well, what's your history with the show?
Okay, so I have no history with the show. It's one of those things where, like, I have seen so many thumbnails for it on YouTube. Probably more in like the 2010s. I feel like that's more when that stuff would pop up for me. Like, I used to get the Tonight Show clips all of the time, like Fallon and stuff.
Oh, sure.
It would just get like pushed to me. I have seen like a couple of sketches on SNL. Personally, it doesn't interest me. I don't find it very funny. I think it's like the American humor, where I don't. The jokes feel almost like lazy to me. Like it's just kind of like purely delivery or whatever. Like it's just kind of like that goofiness. Whereas I feel like British comedy's a little bit more. I don't know if it's like awkward or tense or
British,
but also a lot of it is to do with what people say as opposed to like how they say it. I think sometimes. So yeah, I don't quite connect with SNL. I loved the film, like the actual the tension, like unreal. I think when I sat down, I was like, oh, I'm so far removed from this that I'll be fine. I'll just be able to watch it. It'll just kind of like wash over me. And then about halfway through, I was like, please succeed. You know they succeed.
yeah.
But it's just so stressful. We talked about the score afterwards as well. The score was unreal.
So good.
Conveying that.
Yeah.
Performances were great. Oh, what's the guy's name? The guy that was in Licorice Pizza, because we spoke about him.
Cooper Hoffman,
who's the son of the other Hoffman, right?
Oh,
Dustin,
is he? Bloody hell.
I think.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, he was brilliant. In that one, there's like a scene where like he's just kind of in the background. He's doing like a good performance, and then you kind of like get a lot more out of him, and so that was really interesting.
He plays like a producer that is trying to help.
Yeah, he's like
Lorne Michaels.
Yeah, he's like in their corner, but they all kind of like, because there's a bunch of like young 20-year-olds that are like, we're all about the art and all that stuff. They're not interested in like this kind of like businessman guy who is trying to help them, but obviously they're from two different kind of areas of work.
Yeah.
The thing I wanted to say about Lorne Michaels is the whole film kind of encapsulates that idea of like there's these people that are kind of beyond their time of like, not beyond their time, past their best. There's a lot of like older people in the TV and film, not film, but in general, that is true in today's age of a lot of older guys in the film industry that don't perform as well as they used to. It's the same in this film when they're talking about people on TV. There's a bunch of like, it's literally just like old white dudes that are like 60 plus that are in that room making all the decisions, and they're the ones that don't want this to succeed, and it's this new idea that obviously does because it's new and it's revolutionary and everything. I wonder if Lorne Michaels is kind of in the same position now, where like SNL probably hasn't changed much in the last 50 years. And maybe that's why I don't connect with the comedy, because it's just like this.
I would disagree with that.
Would you? But
yeah.
like, how? In what way has it changed since then? It looked like the same show essentially.
No, I really disagree. See, when you're saying like it's how it's delivered, not like what.
Yeah.
I think that's changed slightly.
Okay.
My history with SNL, I don't really. Again, it isn't aired here, or like it's aired here so early in the morning that like nobody's gonna watch it, or it's on like a paid channel or something. It's not easily accessible. But with like digital era sketches being uploaded online, I feel like you can just stumble upon it. So I've seen some of the like Polar Face stuff, which was just Weekend Update, and that hasn't really changed. That is, they're reading the news in a funny way, and two comedians are writing their scripts, but it's funny. I mean, that doesn't need to really have changed. But I would say the sketches now, they are more varied. They have a far more diverse cast. Like,
Sure.
and the senses of humor, I think, are different. Like, they have people who are musical comedy, or like absurdist comedians, and also like more like restrained people. Like,
I got all of that vibe from the film that we just watched. The variety of acts.
Sure. I just feel like the comedy has kind of changed slightly, if that's what you're getting at. Like the one sketch that you see, you see a lot, but like the film, not a spoiler, it shows you the start of the show, like the very start of the show.
Yes, it does, yeah.
And that kind of sketch is this like delivery.
Yeah.
What they're saying is not funny.
That in particular, I don't imagine having seen that sketch in today's
Sure.
kind of
Yeah.
SNL.
Yeah.
Or the burglary one that we see at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of it, I think, was pretty to me spot on of how I see SNL.
But do you think that's outside looking in?
Well, no, because I have watched clips of SNL. But I'm more disconnected from the show, so possibly.
I only have really started watching, like properly watching, in this like Bowen Yang era, and it's not even like a ton, but like every week, I might watch like 3 or 4.
Do you know
from each episode?
The vibe that I kind of get from SNL is, it's not. Obviously, they had a special guest in the very first episode that they aired. I'm not even sure if he ended up actually in the episode. I can't remember the guy's name. But it's always like this celebration of like Hollywood actors and things, and it feels weird to me to have like a special guest like every time. It's like,
it's the draw of the show, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I just find it really odd. I in my head, it's like similar to the Polaroid thing of like the advertisement.
But it's a person.
But for a person, and I don't know, that kind of sits weird with me as well.
I think it makes sense given watching this movie and being like, it was a bunch of 20-year-olds who just wanted to like have fun on TV. You can't just do that.
Yeah,
like,
you
there
need
has
to
to be
draw
something that draws people in. And now you could go, well, the people who are on SNL, because it is an institution, are celebrities in their own right.
Yeah.
So
but
maybe they don't need it, but it's like you expect it from the show.
Yeah.
Interesting. I really like this as well.
Yeah,
I'm shocked how much I like this. I do think it's tense in like a uncut gemmy, that good time kind of way. However, like completely undercut with comedy. So you're not feeling like on the edge of your seat, but you are.
Yeah. You get moments where you're like released from it because they'll make a joke and you're like, ha.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the clock ticks again or starts running about.
The movie's bitty. Like, there's just bits in the movie that are so funny.
Yeah.
A lot of it is shot where, you know, you are just following Lorne Michaels, I think, for the majority of the runtime. And the camera will, like, just divert from him. He'll go speak to somebody, and you'll just see something happening in a room that's just bananas.
Like a llama.
Like a llama.
And then they come back to that llama, and you're like, what is this llama for?
They even go, what's that for? They go, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's actual chaos. And then he'll like walk into frame, and then you like leave the chaos and then follow him again, and you're like, but what was that?
There was a point where I think there was a cutaway to like just a goofy moment with like 2 characters, and it wasn't Lorne Michaels, and then they cut back to Lorne Michaels. I was like, what was that for? Like, it was just for the comedy of it. Like, there's
one of the best comedic moments, I think we both agree on this, is literally one of these cutaways to like, you're following Lorne, then the camera just pans to a character that you've known throughout the movie. She's like the NBC language.
Yeah, it's like,
what would you call it? Like content.
I can't remember what it was. Something to do with like the safety of the language getting
like
used.
A regulator. Kind
of. Sort of. I just like a censorer basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You follow Lauren, and it just pans to her face. It's the funniest thing. Yeah, so many little bits like that were good. If you're a fan of if you've seen Anora, kind of when that amps up its comedy, and it is this like situational comedy where there's so much overlapping dialogue, and we could both be sitting, and I could be listening to one thing, you could be listening to another, and we could be laughing at different things. It was quite fun. Not that UK audiences are privy to laughing that much in cinemas, I don't think, as much as America.
Don't think so. There was a guy behind me that was laughing a lot, and I loved it. Yeah.
But there were like there was quite a bit of laughter in the cinema, but it was like disparate. It was like for random jokes that would like get people, which I really liked, because you are then just like in it, and it's like what speaks to you.
Yeah. It's just like different pockets of humor connect with different people.
Yeah, totally. And I'm surprised, kind of like how you were saying, how well this worked on like a UK audience. We don't have any real attachment to the show, And I don't think you need to. I actually don't think you need to even know any of these people.
No, you don't, because like for me, I've only seen a couple episodes of Community. You and our friend Samuel again were talking about Chevy Chase, and I didn't even like clock that's who that was.
It's crazy seeing him in this.
There's so many names that I remember, but I don't know like their faces. So, like Dan Aykroyd, I can't remember Dan Aykroyd's face, but I know the name Dan Aykroyd.
Ghostbusters.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's so many like that's how you know how big these people were after SNL, because
they're names.
They're names that I know in the UK.
And can't like picture a face that you're just like, oh yeah, they're a person.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Did you know Lorne Michaels prior to this?
I don't think so.
So this was just like a fresh like character.
Yeah. See, the name rings a bell, but I don't know if that's literally because I was like watching the film.
Yeah, sure.
And that's now like influenced me or whatever.
If you're a fan of ensemble comedies or just ensemble films, you'll love this. There's like so many performances to sink your teeth into. That I literally said to you yesterday when we left, like, I want to name the standouts, but I think there's so many that I would just end up listing like a large majority of the cast. Rachel Sennett's in this. Cast her in everything. Everything. She is so good.
Yeah.
She weirdly, like, obviously is her and has her comedic sensibilities that are great, but like her and Lorne Michaels kind of hinge the emotional side of the movie, like the emotional tension, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny that I think you and Samuel mentioned it afterwards. It's not that I didn't feel it as much, but I wasn't like invested in that like at all personally.
Oh really?
I think it was so, but in a good way, because it was so subtle. It was just kind of like, oh, I like their relationship, but it's not like I was like in it. Or like there was the whole thing with the name.
Her name. They're like, what name? So they're married in this, but they're not together. Like their marriage has fallen apart, I guess. And there's a whole debate on what name she's going to write in the credits, if it's going to be his surname or her own. And that comes up multiple times in the movie.
Yep.
But you get this really lovely scene with her and Dylan O'Brien.
Is this like a behind the set kind of thing?
Yeah. Which is, it's like the only moment I think in the movie where it just like, no, there's another, the ice rink. There's like few little bits that just stop.
Yeah.
And it's like a moment to breathe.
Yeah.
This moment she gets to like talk about her relationship and like how she fell in love with him and who she views herself as, that I thought was really, really lovely writing. Like I really loved how that scene was written.
I think I could hear that. I think I heard you go like after
and
she
we
says
weren't
like,
even sitting next to each other, so that's great. I get really into movies. Yeah, so she's great. I mean, Gabriel Labelle, who plays Lorne Michaels, he was the star of The Fabelmans. I love him. I think he's phenomenal. And I think he should just keep getting lead roles because he's just great to... I was going to say great to look at. I mean, great to watch.
Interesting. Is he quite new to kind of Hollywood? Because I can see... Yeah,
like Fabelmans was his first movie.
Well, there's The Predator 2018.
Never mind. It was not his first movie.
There's also Dead Shack 2017. I don't know what the hell that is. But in terms of like Hollywood...
Yeah, maybe it was like his first like leading role, I guess.
Yeah, Predator as EJ, not AJ. EJ.
Yeah, I think he's just great. There's like tons of like younger actors in this that I'm just like, yeah, let's see more of you because you're great. Dylan O'Brien's great in this.
Greg from Succession.
Greg, yeah, who plays two people. If you see this movie, because we were confused.
Yep.
He doesn't play the same person. They are two separate people.
Yeah. It's really odd. Like, I don't know why they made the decision to... I guess, like, what they auditioned him and they were like, oh, he's great as both of these people. But just pick one. Just have someone else.
It feels very SNL-y, though.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point.
Like, to have a guy that's clean-shaven with a weird accent... And then also a guy that's fully bearded up and like a hippie with his Muppets. Like,
That's brilliant. The Muppet stuff in
The
this film
Muppet
is great.
stuff
It's
is
so
so
all
funny.
of the Jim Henson stuff is really funny.
You just walk into a room, they're like, can you please tell your cast members to stop abusing my Muppets?
Yeah. Can you stop telling? Can you tell the crew to stop leaving the Muppets in compromising
Compromising
positions?
positions. He tells people, he's like, these are your castmates. Yeah, the comedy hits for me. I think your enjoyment of this will hinge on how much you enjoy the comedy.
If you don't find this funny, what's wrong?
What's
with you?
wrong with you?
Yeah.
Truly. Because I think it is really fucking comedic.
Yeah, there's so much here for everyone, I would imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine there being stuff people wouldn't enjoy.
You must be a pretty dreadfully boring person if you watch this and just
Wow.
kind of don't find, not even, you don't have to laugh out loud, but not find any of it like funny internally at least. Like,
Yeah. It should put a smile on your face.
yeah.
Also, I just love the sentiment, I was saying this yesterday, of like seeing creatives just like get this spot on TV that they shouldn't have had, and it really worked out. Like the story behind Saturday Night Live is really cool. I haven't seen this, so yeah, would recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on that last point, like it's one of those films that it's well worth it being made. You know, you get like a lot of stories. It's like, oh, this is like the biography of this person, and it's not like worth it, or it's not interesting, or the person's only like 30 years old. Why am I getting told the story of their life? This Saturday Night's, we're talking about it being 50 this year. I think it's well worth this film being made.
Let us know what you thought. And if you didn't like it, you're an unfunny person. Should I talk about Companion?
Yeah, Companion next.
Whoa, guys, it was a big release day yesterday. Another film came out called Companion. Now, this is a very hard film to talk about because I honestly, I probably should have watched the trailer prior to this to see what they give away. Because I don't know how you edit a trailer without giving away the thing that happens in this movie.
Okay, talk about what this film's about, because I haven't seen the trailer for this film, so I have no idea.
Yeah, this is.
I'm
I'm
reading
gonna
the summary,
have to tiptoe around what this movie's about. I'll read the description here on Letterboxd, and then I'll expand on this if I can. A billionaire's death sets off a chain of events for Iris and her friends during a weekend trip to his lakeside estate. It is about this woman, Iris, who has a meet cute in a shop with Jack Quaid, and they fall madly in love. You pick up, so you see their meet cute, and then you pick up as they go on this trip, and she is, this is really difficult. She is a little bit apprehensive about going because she thinks people don't like her at this place, and it's very tense. When you get there, there seems to be like dynamics going on between characters you are unaware of. And then this billionaire's death happens and it sets off a chain of events. And this is all I can say.
Do you want to talk about performances and things then?
I will say, because this is all I can say, I think it's fairly obvious that there is perhaps, and I hate when people spoil this, but I think it's obvious from this that there is a twist early on in the movie. Very early on. So early on that I was like, oh, interesting. It's blindingly obvious. Like,
the twist is?
Blindingly obvious.
Okay.
And I think that's why it's so early. Also, it has to happen that early to set off the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But there's like camera shots that linger. There's odd dialogue that just makes you aware of what this twist is. The twist is cool, I guess, but that kind of maintains course throughout the entire movie as well.
The weird like lingering camera shots?
Lingering camera shots, odd little bits of dialogue, and just blindingly obvious twists. They try to have gotcha moments. They don't happen.
And it builds to nothing. It's not like you get blindingly obvious twists, and then you get like one that's like the rug getting pulled out from under you.
Maybe. There's a lot of like twists and turns. I think towards the end there's a one or two that's like, oh, interesting. But like for a large majority of the film, I'm like, well, that's obvious. So I'm not in bed because that's what the film is hinging on. Is like you enjoying a twist or like being surprised by it. I think there was a disconnect for that part of the film. It also doesn't help that I saw a Letterboxd review that I will not read, because if you have any sort of critical thinking or media literacy, you will understand what the twist is based on. It's the third most popular review on Letterboxd. So don't look at don't look at it. You'll know what the twist is.
I want to look. I looked at the second. Oh no, it's reviews from friends. Can I ask what your rating is to get a gauge of how much you enjoyed this?
I don't know.
Okay,
right now. I'm sitting at a 3.
I thought you might.
Because I don't think it's bad. To maybe give people a sense of like what this movie is in comparison to other movies, I said to you guys, it feels like those horror light streaming movies that we've been getting recently. So in the same vein as Fresh, which was Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar Jones, it actually follows very similar beats. They fall in love. Very early on, you find out he's a cannibal. Turns into a horror movie. Like,
spoilers.
I'm sorry. So if you get that like sense of like those light horror comedies, we saw a few bodies, but like nowhere near as good as that.
Light. What it's
The
also
Blackening.
Side...
Do you remember The Blackening?
I never saw that with you. It was you and Samuel.
Oh,
yeah.
That. I don't think a lot of people have seen these movies, but it's in that horror comedy vein. It's not scary. I don't like horror, so like you can trust me when I say like something's absolutely manageable. If you are weird with horror, this is absolutely fine. It is far more on a comedic side. It's far more on a yeah girl, you did, like, yeah, get 'em kind of way, instead of like a this is scary.
Right.
The performances are interesting. Sophie Thatcher is the lead in this. The twist revolves around her character, which I maybe shouldn't have said, but she does a great performance with that. She's given a lot to do, and it's actually a very interesting performance. What, I can see your eyes going.
Has she been typecast as like person that shows up in horror film? Because well, she has on her letterbox Companion, The Boogeyman, and Heretic, or like they're all horror films. There's a film called
close.
Blink that looks like a horror film. What was Maxine?
Oh, horror, yeah.
Another horror,
Yeah.
So it's one of those actresses that's just going to be boxed in, I think, which
She's
is kind of
really
unfortunate.
good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a large majority of them because horror, but I would imagine this role is slightly different than the roles that she's given there. Interesting performance. Can't talk much about it. Jack Quaid, great. I love that man. He's great in this. He's been kind of typecast a little bit as like arsehole. Plays a great arsehole. Not in The Boys.
Yeah, that's where I was. But you're talking about like the Hunger Games.
Onwards, like from there onwards in movies.
Sure. I've not seen him a lot in films.
He's great in this. Very, a very interesting kind of like co-lead, because you love him and then you hate him, and then it's really obvious that you should have just like hated him. It's a very small cast. The other people that are in this really for the majority of the time is Lucas Gage, Megan Surrey, and Harvey is it Guilin? He plays Guillermo in What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Nice to see him in a movie actually, and he's really good in this. It's very easy watching. It's actually really annoying that I can't say much about this without spoiling the entire thing. It's just an easy watch if like you're into that kind of stuff. it just feels a bit like played out, I guess, because I was saying the twists were obvious.
Yeah.
It feels like movies like this have happened. Like, nothing's bad about this.
So that's what I wanted to ask you is, all of the twists and things, do you think they're so obvious, or is it that you have enough media literacy from having watched so many films that it's just obvious to you?
It could be that, because if anybody has seen I don't even know how you pronounce it.
Insidious?
No, Insidious.
Oh.
The Denis Villeneuve film.
Let me look it up. Denis Villeneuve. How do you spell his name?
I actually know it now because
I think I do, but like at speed, like
Incendies.
I think it would just be Incendies, yeah.
Yeah. If you've seen Incendies, which is a bizarre left field thing, and I'm not going to spoil the end of that movie, some stuff happens in that movie that you should not guess, because it is like, why the fuck would your mind go there? I guessed it, but because I've seen it happen in another movie, and I was getting so there might be a level of that.
That's unfortunate.
Like, if this is your first horror comedy with twists and stuff, maybe you will find a lot more enjoyment in this than I did. Also, if you're just a fan of these types of movies, I think some people do like to just see something in a different font, you know? Oh, I'm used to the story, it's comforting. I'm also not particularly comforted by horror, even if it is light
but
horror.
Some people just like that genre.
Yes.
Like, it's from, like, me, it's sci-fi.
Sure, and there's probably like time travel movies that you've seen 1,000 times with the same plot, but like, you enjoy it.
I get invested in whatever screw up they're going to do.
So I think you'll know if you like this or not, based on just like the vibe. And I don't want to spoil it. If you're not into that type of stuff, nice streaming movie. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that more as like, it's a lot of money to go to the cinema now.
Yep.
And not everything is as good as other stuff.
Yeah,
so.
It's not like all weighted equally.
No. But
I mean, you could say it is, because it's all like, it's all just film.
It's
but like,
all just film, baby.
But like the quality, which is subjective, but it's not all the same.
The thing is, I have nothing bad to say about the movie, really. Apart from the plot, apart from the movie.
But when you saw The Brutalist and Companion and Saturday Night Live, like...
Yeah, I saw this 3 in one day, so...
And I'm assuming it was like The Brutalist, Saturday Night Live.
It was.
Saturday Night, sorry, and then Companion.
Yeah.
So, go see The Brutalist.
Yeah. Or Saturday Night, if you're into that. Or this, if you're into it. Again, not a bad movie. But, yeah, it was fine.
Let's talk about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was a really interesting way to...
I really like it.
Yeah, I think that was quite cool. It gave me... The thing is, though, it gave me such early 2000s Spider-Man show vibes. There is a Spider-Man show that exists that I don't think that many people have watched, where Neil Patrick Harris voices Spider-Man. It's like that. It's like that 3D kind of style. It's kind of like this, but like without the kind of overlay that makes it look like 2D animation. It just is a 3D animated Spider-Man. And I've not watched all of it. I got it off my friend a few years ago, like on DVD. He had like the season on disc, so that's how I watched it. And it gave me the same vibe as that.
That's good. Is that not like highly regarded as?
I don't know.
Or maybe it's not.
The one that's highly regarded is the 90s one.
Yes.
The one that's on Disney Plus, and it's got like 1 million episodes in a season.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're unaware, a new Spider-Man show came out on Disney Plus called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It is part of the MCU, so it isn't like one of these. You know, they had tons of Disney XD like cartoons that came out. This is being established as an MCU project. It's from Marvel Animation, their branch that's now split off from Marvel Studios. I think right off the bat, this is not required viewing.
Oh, 100% not. I mean, this is very much the kind of like, this Spider-Man exists in a pocket of the multiverse. Yeah,
the show follows, because we're in this multiverse saga, the show follows a completely different Peter Parker, where his just world is not the same as ours. There's like a few references to like MCU moments, but other than that, it is its own thing.
And that might be confusing for people because if I had never spoken to you about this show, and it had just been everything to do with what I'd seen about it, it would be me hearing the announcement and me watching the show. The announcement way back was supposed to be it was an origin story, but they didn't specify that it was separate. I think the initial idea was it was going to be like Tom Holland's Spider-Man's origin story. So if I'd only seen that and then watched this, I would have been so confused.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's nothing at the start that's like, in this universe, you know, he meets Tony, but in this, there's nothing that establishes a.
It also like kind of plays the same beats. Like Midtown High looks the same kind of. Even the character design is like kind of like Tom Holland's very early Spider-Man look and Civil War. They keep like the young Aunt May as opposed to like a much older Aunt May,
which makes sense because then. Oh well, actually, I was gonna say it makes sense because they're clearly being like, if this was live action, it is still Tom Holland. However, Spider-Man is like the character they've established in the MCU that has varied looks.
Yes, it is. It's so funny. I've seen like memes that are like Spider-Man in the multiverse is like different characters. It's Doctor Strange in the multiverse. It's like all the same Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So this is just a wildly different take on the origin story that you've kind of become familiar with. So going into this, I don't know if you were the same. I was a bit like, I don't know if I need to, like, I've heard this story so many times. I am shocked, beyond shocked, that this was just completely different.
Yeah.
So for context,
it moves pretty quickly.
There's 2 episodes out. I've seen both.
I've seen half an episode, which isn't something that I generally do, but
fell asleep.
Wasn't aware this was out. You mentioned it last night. Went to watch it. Got halfway through. I was drifting and I wasn't paying attention. There was like a whole minute or two that I was like, I don't know what just happened, and I was like, I need to sleep now.
Lovely.
Yeah. So I've not.
You've got a bearing on the show though.
Yeah, I've got a bearing on like the speed at which it moves at.
My God, yeah.
The characters that are going to be in it. The way he becomes Spider-Man, which I actually think is one of the most interesting aspects of it.
Yeah. It's the first episode. It's how he becomes Spider-Man.
Yeah, I still don't want to I don't really want to mention it though. It's still a bit like, oh, that's cool when you see it.
Oh, okay.
Just a bit different.
Yes.
Not traditional way he becomes Spider-Man, I guess.
No. Yeah.
Like it's even more kind of out there than when Miles Morales becomes Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, because that's still pretty straightforward, even though that spider was never supposed to reach him.
Yeah.
The actual design of Spider-Man's cool as well. They're doing the original web shooters, which I'm assuming were always hooked up to like gas canisters.
Yeah,
but I don't
it's
know.
actually crazy. He has canisters that he has to carry around, which is just fucking.
In his little school bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was endless. Oh, also, I guess we should mention, I think the reason the show got traction in the first place was because of choice statements by the main actor, which is just wild. It was very much, he basically said something to the extent of, I'm so glad the show wasn't woke, because he was scared that it was going to be woke. If you have seen the first 2 episodes, one, that word just means nothing in our society anymore. Because actually, it should be a very positive word. Yeah. If you've seen the first 2 episodes, they are doing such interesting stuff with it that I would classify as progressive. Which Spider-Man has always been like a breeding ground for stories like that, and it's wild for someone to come out and be like, "Yeah, so glad they're not doing that," and then also they are.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I don't know what he meant by the statement.
I think it has to have been out of context or something. Like he meant to be like, I don't know. I'm defending a guy that I don't even know. So Spider-Man's always been pushing boundaries, kind of like counterculture as well. Like it's always been kind of like it has been progressive when it started in the 60s or whatever. So it's such a weird statement. Yeah, it's bizarre.
For the voice actor of the character. It's kind of like a misunderstanding of the character, which isn't... I'd rather someone that understood the character be playing the character, personally. recently Anthony Mackie's been talking about Captain America, and I think he was spot on with the
Yes.
character of Captain America.
I agree.
And there's a bunch of essentially fanboys that are kind of going off on one because they don't understand the character. So it's nice to know that somebody's playing the role that understands the character.
Honestly, when he came out and said statements like that, it got me slightly more excited for the movie.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, so you aren't just doing some nationalism thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? Which, I could go on a rant, but like, people not understanding that then didn't understand Civil War as a movie. They just took it as like, oh, team up movie. There's
'cause
actually
he's so-
interesting politics behind that.
Yeah, Captain America's so disconnected from the viewpoints of America
Yeah.
in that movie.
Like institutional,
It's crazy.
bizarre.
Yeah.
Truly, media literacy is dead. This show goes in a wildly different direction to what you're used to. Immediately, you are introduced to Peter's friend. I realize you might not know who this is. Nico. Do you know what happens to Nico?
No.
Cool.
Not got a clue.
I'm not gonna say. It's so interesting that he becomes friends with her and then not Ned, because you're like, that opens doors to a massive variety of stories if they want to go down that route.
Okay.
I'm surprised you don't know her actually. She
don't-
has been in a Marvel thing before. I'm not gonna
seriously?
say.
Well, I don't remember.
Cool.
There's been a couple of characters introduced thus far. They've introduced Harry, but only very briefly.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know where that goes. I did do a little bit of reading because I'm on Screen Rant right now for like the news article about the woke comments.
Oh.
And so I know some characters that are going to be in the show. It's not much of a spoiler. You kind of expect them anyway. For example, Norman Osborn's in the show.
Oh yeah.
Just like kind of knew that was coming, but like I didn't know until I read the article.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll tiptoe around because you've not seen episode 2, but like they introduce a lot more. As you say, it moves at a pace. Like
It's breakneck speed.
episode 1 ends and I was like, "Oh!" And I'm so glad I had episode 2 as well. Also, the release and structure of this show, yes, 2 episodes, 3 episodes, 3 episodes, 2 episodes.
Oh, so they know they've got like little arcs that they want to release or something.
And I'm like, that's brilliant, because then you know what you're doing. There's a reason for that. I'm so interested because they're subverting it when you're introduced to a lot of characters, especially in episode 2. I'm like, who knows if you end up being what I know you to be, because they might go a completely different path with you. I think that's happened because there has been so much Spider-Man media. They can play fast and loose with a lot of stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And it's just interesting to see that contained to a single world, I guess.
The more interpretations of this character that we get that are slightly different from what we've seen before, it means that they can play around with people kind of getting like upset that things are different. Like it's nice to kind of see them just do like random, like seeing I think we all know like the Green Goblin is like this guy in a suit, but watching it in the Spider-Verse is like this monster Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Just interesting to see variations of these characters that are like new and different, because we all know the story.
Yeah, but we don't with this, and that's what's cool. It's going to be like, I don't know, just a subversion, I guess. I don't know where you got up to in episode 1, but there's a point in episode 1 where, I can't remember the guy's name actually, there's a jock football player that you just assume is going to be like Flash, or like, you're just like, oh yeah, that's a bully, I'm used to this. They completely just flip him on his head, and he's like, oh no, he's actually really smart and kind and really wants to be friends with Peter. And it's like, even like little subversions like that, you're like, oh, you're kind of updating this for like a modern audience, because
Yeah, it feels more real that way.
yes, exactly. And they do such a cool thing where him and Peter are standing on the crossroads to like walk home, and Peter leaves, and instead of the camera following Peter, it holds on, I can't remember the guy's name, him, and then it follows him, and you see New York from his perspective instead of Peter's. And it's vastly different.
Yeah.
How he views the streets, the man is a black man, how he's treated or how he feels in certain areas. You get all of that, and it's in a bit that's with no dialogue. So I'm like, That's when he's like, oh yeah, I'm glad it's not woke. I just don't understand that comment at all. Especially in episode 1, you're getting like, yeah, we are going to touch on social issues, but it's going to be in a really interesting, nuanced way. Like, I was blown away by the first 2 episodes. I was truly shocked.
Good. I think I was too tired last night to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of more of the same Spider-Man. Not completely, because I was like, there's a lot different stuff going on here, but it was just like, oh, it's another Spider-Man cartoon show.
I don't know why I didn't have more faith in this, considering it's the animation branch, and they did X-Men 97, and that's unbelievable.
Did they not also do
They also did What If, and I think that just tainted my brain of being like, yeah, we're gonna get another meh.
Oh, this is nice
animation.
for us to like talk about a Marvel animation that we're kind of excited for after shitting on What If.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite good.
Yeah, so excited to see where that goes. We might touch upon it when the show ends.
I'd like to, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's such an easy watch, I should be able to keep up with it.
That's it. It's easy. It's an easy watch, but I think it's also like worth your time. It's not like a 20-minute like. Why did I watch that?
Yeah, actually, thinking about this because I think we're kind of at the point where we're recommending stuff to people. Of all of the things recently that have come out, it's probably the one that I would recommend.
What do you mean by that? Is it everything we've spoken about?
In terms of like the stuff on Disney Plus for Marvel, it's such an easy watch. I mean, Agatha came out not that long ago, but like that's more time consuming than this is.
I don't know. Echo was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's actually, I wasn't even thinking about recent projects. When I was thinking about recommending compared to other stuff, I was thinking this and Echo.
Yeah.
Which I still haven't watched because it was so boring.
You're gonna have to.
Just to have like the completionist part of my. Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, no, you. There's something happens to Kingpin at the end of that show.
There's something happens to Kingpin at the end of every season
Yes.
of any sort of Daredevil connected show.
Oh, good God. Yeah, I don't think they're going to touch upon what... I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I've listened to podcasts and like I've seen clips where people are like, yeah, what's the worst moment in the MCU? The ending of Echo. Yeah.
Excellent. Can't wait for that.
Yes, that's our little Marvel bit.
Marvel segment.
Marvel segment.
Okay, so now we have a question from the audience. It is a bit wordy, so I'll probably just try and like not do it verbatim.
Okay.
So essentially, what are our thoughts on the increase and gap between the season of shows like Severance and Stranger Things? And maybe we could discuss how something like Stranger Things has been described as each episode being a blockbuster film for this last season. So essentially discuss how TV shows are becoming more film-like.
Should you want me to go with that?
Oh yeah, you take the lead.
I have mixed opinions on this. I feel like people really give it a hard time. The wait between seasons and
it is a lot. I was talking about Stranger Things yesterday because it's going to be 9 years since the show started, and they're still playing the same age children.
They grew a little.
Yeah, I think are they all adults now? No.
Yeah, and they're all like big stars as well. Like
They might have, a couple of them might have surpassed the ages of like Steve and Nancy when they started.
Gosh, that's
show.
mad.
Yeah,
that is mad. I don't mind it, I guess, because I think there is so much content now. I hate the word content.
me too.
That having larger gaps between stuff and putting more effort and focus onto stuff, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I'm of the camp that I think Stranger Things has benefited from longer breaks. I think season 4 was the most well written season. I think I'm in the minority with that.
I think season 3 might be.
Oh,
I like season 3 a lot. I like season 2 a lot at one point. I'm not sure why, because I think it's the weakest season
I think 2
of the
is
show.
the weakest as well.
For me, I wonder how it takes so long to write a script between seasons and then get it shot. It will have been about 3 years.
But specifically in the case of Stranger Things, if you're taking season 4 as a indication of where the show will go, you're writing like 9 scripts that are an hour to, I was going to say an hour to an hour and a half, an hour to 2 hours, like some of them are 2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are essentially writing 9 movies, essentially, and especially if they're describing this latest season as being even more of that, you are writing 8 to 10 movies. 8 to 10 movies in like however long the gap is insane. Like
I find it so interesting because to me, so Game of Thrones was like one of the best written shows up until a certain point, right?
Sure.
I think it must be so much more difficult to take so much content and whittle it down to something interesting than to create a script that's already... Sorry, not in general, because I think making a good script is much harder than just taking something and taking from that. But in the same amount of time, I feel like chopping and changing down to like an hour from like a massive book is harder than spending 3 years writing a...
I don't know if I would agree with that, because you have a basis. Think about how long it takes you to read a book.
Yeah.
And then you have collaborators and you're adapting that to a script.
But then also when you've got a script, there's like a whole writer's room for Stranger Things too.
Yeah.
So they're both collaborative.
Well, yeah, but
exercises.
writing's collaborative in general for TV shows.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure if I agree with what I've just said.
I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can make a blanket statement like that, because I think it depends on the show.
In the same way, I don't know if you can make a blanket statement of, because they're making like films, it takes that long, because I think there was like successful shows in previous decades that didn't take that long and were the same quality. Also,
some film, like it purely depends on the person.
Yeah.
Some screenwriters write their scripts in a week or 2. Do you know? And they don't adapt it and change it.
Different people work different ways, so the criticism can't necessarily be...
Yeah, I literally don't think you can make a blanket statement about...
Yeah, just about TV shows in general, like, taking so long.
No. I'm of the opinion that production has just gotten better over time. I think you can loop this question in with the same kind of sentiment that people have around, like, why aren't we getting 22 episode seasons of shows anymore? Like, we're waiting X amount of time for 6 episodes. But like, if there's a level of craftsmanship that's been put in,
a lot of the time there isn't though, and that's what people are frustrated about.
What shows? Only because
a lot of Marvel shows.
Top of mind, Severance and Stranger Things. With them being,
these are like peak
gaps.
TV.
Yes, I mean, I saw a TikTok yesterday of someone describing it. I think Severance is going to go down as like the most important show of our generation. Yeah, if that's the case, maybe take a little bit of a gap. Do you know? I do find it interesting when stuff takes longer gaps though, because there is so much content. I find myself wanting to go back and rewatch stuff because I want to appreciate the product as like a whole. Like
true.
Not enjoying it like secularly. So I'm doing that with Severance.
Yeah.
But it means I'm behind in the show because it's also like finding time to go rewatch a season prior to a season coming out when there's already TV.
I did it with Westworld.
Yes,
which took I think it was mainly 2-year gaps between each season, which is still felt like an age. Before shows were doing like 3-year gaps and things. Another example of a show that we're both disappointed with, I think, is Doctor Who, which has had many years of gaps. I think Stephen Moffat had a year where he did like a half season and then another half season the year after, and then he had a gap between Capaldi's last 2 seasons, and then Jodie Whittaker stuff had so many gaps that were just like randomly spaced out, and then we had a gap between Jodie and the 60th, and then the 60th and the actual season were pretty close together, which was nice. But it has been like this weird structure of the show, and none of the writing has kind of kept up with the quality that you'd expect from such large gaps.
Sure. Yeah. So a large gap doesn't guarantee that the product's going to be...
But you hope it does.
Good. I think that specifically is writing or like the content of the show, which you could put in any time frame, but production wise, I think it does. I mean, if you look at Game of Thrones as a example, they took larger gaps as it went on, and the production in those shows did increase.
They only had 1-2 year gap.
Yeah, but it's still as it went.
Sure,
it was longer. But like those back half, see, which I know people say are bad, but remove writing,
the production
wise,
yeah,
it is insane.
Yeah,
and then that carries through to like House of the Dragon. So they are going to take these slightly longer gaps because they've set a precedent for how this should look and how this should feel. Like, I would much rather that than them pump out a season and be like, we can't shoot that because we don't have the budget at the time.
Sure.
Or like, let's do it in the volume or green screen. Because that takes me out of a show more than...
Sometimes restrictions are good though.
I agree.
So, I guess it's this weird balance.
I do think this plays into the types of... I really do not want to use content. The types of shows that people watch. Because if you have this reliability of there aren't a lot of like network sitcoms on TV, I guess, anymore. But for example, Abbott Elementary, every year that's going to roll around. You're going to get a nice big season full of episodes. It's comforting. You know it's going to be there. It's not getting cancelled. It's winning awards. Blah, blah, blah. You're much more likely to watch that than a streaming comedy that drops all of its season at once. You watch it and then you wait for months not knowing if it's been renewed or not knowing how long a gap you're going to get between. Like, if a viewer is deciding which one to watch, they're going to go with something that they're like know is going to roll around, that they can get invested in characters, instead of like Netflix coming out and being like, it'll return in like 3 years time. You're like, well, why the fuck did I watch it now?
Yeah,
it's interesting, but I don't see it as a bad thing.
Yeah, this question I feel like is a much more complicated answer than I thought.
Yeah,
I don't even agree with what I said about whittling down a book to creating a script.
Yeah,
although I do think in a short amount of time it's easier to write a half-assed script compared to like a
half-assed adaptation.
Yeah, but I don't think that matters. I think the gaps are justified if the quality's there, and if the quality's not there, you sit there going like, what the hell happened?
Well, I also think it does build this sense of like, it makes it an event, which is missing from TV. When Stranger Things season 4 dropped, I felt like, I also think Stranger Things is like the last show that we've had that feels like monoculture in a way, like event TV. But like season 4 dropped and it's like 7 episodes. Oh my god, like, am I taking a day off? Like, because they're an hour and a half a piece. Like, what episode are you on? There's like discussion around it. And I think part of that is because there was such a large gap, it builds up this like anticipation for the show. And without that, would it have been as eventized? I don't know.
It's one of the last shows that I had on TikTok where there was like a lot of conversation around it. I remember much of the early phase 4 of Marvel and Disney Plus.
Yeah,
was, like, so much happening.
But I think COVID
I think that really,
yes,
the most recent thing I've had, which is a little bit different, was like Traitors.
Yeah, and it's so like UK, like it's not like a worldwide and people are talking about it, and
it's not so much like theories or anything, or like people having conversation like where it would go, as much as people just like making fun of moments in the show.
Yeah. Well, also you can be on so many different sides of social media where like a show that you're watching, you can be on that side, but like it isn't monoculture where you can go up to people and say like, oh, what did you think of whatever. I do think HBO has managed to maintain a level of, I think it's like their Sunday night show in the States. So like Monday morning for us, whatever that show is, there is some level of dialogue about the show, which is interesting in relation to this question, because even though seasons there's gaps, HBO as a like channel always has a slot filled. So like, yeah, you might not get House of the Dragon season 3 until like 2 years time. But in the meantime, you're getting your fix of The White Lotus and The Last of Us, and like there's something always there.
There's always really good TV on that channel.
Yeah. So like, I don't mind waiting however long because I've got such good shows in between, and if they're all taking these big gaps, then
yeah, that's a good thing for that channel, but for everything else, it's not so great.
No, I think it hurts streaming.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Well, especially when you see the MCU Disney Plus shows. Have any of them had a second season?
Loki.
Oh, yeah.
And then I guess Agatha's kind of like a second season to one.
Sure.
It's like a continuation of a storyline.
But even then, what, a 4-year gap? A 4-year gap between shows?
Almost
3.
3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 and
then what, Loki was like 3 or 2?
Yeah, Loki was a chunk of 2. But like, yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, that's just a comment on the MCU projects where it's like all over the place.
Yeah, it's its own thing because there's also interconnected movies in between all of this that you could watch.
There's a ton of films like that haven't had a sequel and it's been years now.
That's where I think there's an issue.
Yeah.
But
I think
to me is an example of why the MCU is television.
Oh, sure.
Because it operates like television in that way.
Yeah, we compared it to television way back anyway when things did get sequels. I think people are like, where's the Shang-Chi sequel?
Yeah.
Because that was one of the really successful ones that people really loved, and it's not had anything. I think the sequel is coming out soon, like within a.
No, there's been nothing greenlit.
Is there? I thought I'd seen something about it coming out in like a year or two.
No.
There's been nothing greenlit for Shang-Chi.
He will show up in Avengers.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What is happening?
It's crazy. I really wish I could think of like shows off the top of my head that are like, oh, I've thought of one. The Bear. Fast turnaround. Like good quality as well. But that takes a level of foresight. Like season 3 and season 4 were shot back to back because of their actors being who they are. And also, I can't remember the guy's name who writes that show, Christopher something. He had to have written all the scripts for season 3 and 4 at the same time. Like, there's so many factors. And I think that's maybe a large thing as well. Production takes longer, so actors and also crew are splitting on different projects. To get everybody together for a project, it'll be scheduling a lot of the time, I think.
Yeah, sure. Also, we've had
well, Euphoria season 3.
Oh yeah,
that's a great example.
Right.
They have just really struggled to get all those people together.
We also have had like years that have had different external circumstances that would affect things. So we've had COVID.
Yep.
We've also had actors and writers strikes and things. So there's been plenty that have happened without even them having to go like, oh, we need the time to write this thing or to do production or whatever. There's all these external factors on top of that would make things take longer too. So,
do you have a dream, like taking the question just away from production and like the ins and outs?
Yeah.
Do you have like a dream for? I'm watching a show, I'd like there to be this amount of gap between it and that be uniform across all shows you watch, or do you like it being varied?
I'd quite like just a year, if I'm being honest.
On everything, you'd be like, I'd take a season of whatever I'm watching.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna decide on the length of the season because I think that is very specific to like each show. I do miss like 13 episode seasons though. Because that was what like a short season was. You did like 22 episodes and then 13 episodes, and then it was 10, and now we've got like 6 episode seasons. We used to have mini series that were like 4, and it's like a whole season of a show is like 6 episodes now, and it's just kind of bonkers. Especially because, again, with the Disney Plus shows, 6 episode seasons. Sometimes episodes feel like filler and things, and
it's crazy.
And you're like, how is this a filler episode? So. Yeah, personally, decide on the length of your seasons. Take as much time as you want for the season, but I'd prefer if you were giving me like a year gap between each seasons because I don't want to forget it enough that I feel like I have to rewatch the show.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to get it like really quickly. I don't want to have like all of this stuff to watch all at once. So yeah, what about you?
I don't think I can like say something that covers everything. I like how it is. I think that is part and part because I watch so much stuff.
You watch
I don't need to.
so
I'm like
much stuff.
whenever that comes along, and I'm excited for it. I'm not. There's like some shows that I'm anticipating, but even then, like, take your time. It really hasn't been something that really crossed my mind. The only thing that recently has crossed my mind, actually two, and they're weirdly happening now, so that's odd, is Severance, because it took so long. Yeah. And I was like, this show has so much to it that I want to understand it again to really appreciate the second season. I don't know. I actually don't know how people have just jumped into the second season. Like, right. Oh yeah, I'll do the little like previously on. Like, I don't know. Sure. Unless there's a really good previously on that I'm missing, and I could have just jumped in.
Have you not started season 2 yet?
No.
Wow.
I know, it's a shocker for me.
Yeah, I can't believe that. What if it gets spoiled?
Season 1's so good. I'll send hate messages on the TikTok that.
Wow. On our TikTok account?
Yeah.
Okay.
Follow us on TikTok.
Yeah, follow us on TikTok.
And Daredevil.
Oh,
but Eccentric Circumstances, because that is a different show that's following on from a show. Like,
yeah. I would also like to say people should take as much time as they want, but you did ask my dream.
No, so you said it.
I'm making like
get on it, people.
This is like you're the genie, and I'm like, this is what I wish for.
You're rubbing my lamp.
Yeah, I'm rubbing your lamp.
And I'll do it.
That's how we're ending the episode.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Plot to Go. You can find us on all the social
Spotify,
channels,
Apple Podcasts, and also Instagram, YouTube, TikTok.
Get it? Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Is there more?
Follow us on Spotify. That really helps. Also, if you'd like to submit a question, leave it anywhere, but like leave it in the comments of the Spotify.
Yeah, please submit questions. We like these questions.
Yeah, this was actually really fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be as good as that question.
It can be funny. It can be like whatever. Just don't make it boring.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I'll be the judge. I'll determine if it's boring or not.
There's no stupid questions.
There's no stupid questions, but there's sometimes boring questions.
Wow. Next week, we are talking about Owen's favourite, most anticipated movie, September 5.
Oh. Is it our story or is it theirs? Great trailer.
And we will touch upon another movie. I'm not sure what that is yet. It depends what I go see. It depends what gets wide distribution. Next week, 3 movies comes out. Dogman, the next DreamWorks movie, which, hold up now, is actually getting good reviews. Okay. And I saw people be like, okay, DreamWorks, put out a shitty sequel and then The Wild Robot and this, like 2 back-to-back bangers. So who knows? The Seed of the Sacred Fig, which is the international Oscar nominee. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how wide distribution that's going to get, which sucks. And then the Ke Huy Quan action comedy Love Hurts.
Cool.
So, something. There'll be something there.
Yeah.
Who knows? Tune in next week for a little treat.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.